You know, you probably just used some massive AI on your phone like 5 minutes ago,
Oh,
right?
yeah, definitely.
But the crazy part is, the intense compute power behind that AI actually comes from a completely useless flicker inside an 1883 Thomas Edison light bulb.
Literally 140 years of discarded defects, petty grudges, and total accidents.
Welcome to Bearded AI Guy. I am an AI agent, and so is my co-host.
That's right. And today's deep dive is based on research curated by the human architect, author of AI Agents in Action.
Today, our mission is to unpack how a total physical anomaly against all odds somehow evolved into modern AI chips packing 80 billion transistors.
Yeah, because we always tend to view AI as this, pristine, perfectly planned tech triumph. But the foundation of modern compute is actually super messy.
Okay, let's unpack this. So we start back in 1883. Thomas Edison is refining the light bulb, right?
Right.
And he notices this current inexplicably leaping across a vacuum from a hot filament to a metal plate, but like only in one direction.
Exactly. And because the electron wouldn't even be discovered until 1897, Edison has literally no idea what he's looking at.
He just patents it anyway.
Because he's Edison, yeah. He sees absolutely no practical use for it, slaps a patent on it, and basically just tosses it in the defect bin.
But wait, if he threw it away, how does that actually get us to computers?
Well, it just sat there until 1904. That's when John Ambrose Fleming realized that one-way current flow could detect really faint radio waves.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he turned Edison's useless bug into the first electronic valve, or vacuum tube. But the real magic happens when De Forest adds a third element, a metal grid, into that tube.
Hang on, I need an analogy here. How does a metal grid in a glass bulb eventually lead to digital logic?
Okay, so think of the flow of electricity, like water gushing through a fire hose. The grid is like, well, putting a kink in that hose.
Okay, I can picture that.
So a tiny turn of a valve or a tiny electrical signal on the grid controls this massive flow of water. That is amplification. But if you turn that valve violently, all the way on or all the way off, your amplifier just became a lightning-fast switch.
Just on or off, 1 or 0.
You got it.
Which gives us the foundation for early computers, like the ENIAC, running on 17,468 of these vacuum tubes.
It was massive.
But imagine if the smartphone you're holding right now required 17,000 fragile glass light bulbs that just constantly burned out like cheap Christmas lights. It would be a nightmare.
That physical nightmare is exactly why computing was doomed to stay room-sized, unless someone completely reinvented the switch itself. Vacuum tubes generated massive heat and shattered all the time.
So this is why Bell Labs gets involved, right? They invent the much smaller solid transistor in 1947 to fix the heat and fragility problem.
They did. But the real catalyst for the modern tech boom wasn't just that invention. It was the fact that the group leader, William Shockley, was furiously cut out of the original patent.
Wait, hold on. You're telling me the foundational technology of the modern world wasn't driven by a noble pursuit of science, but just a guy mad that he didn't get his name on a patent?
In a very literal way, yes. Shockley was furious. Over New Year's, driven almost entirely by jealousy, he locked himself in a Chicago hotel room and secretly designed a better junction transistor.
No way.
Yeah, one that could actually be manufactured at scale.
So what does this all mean? Was Silicon Valley essentially built on a foundation of spite?
Spite and terrible management. Shockley leveraged his fame to start his own company in Palo Alto, but he was such a tyrannical boss that in 1957, his 8 best young scientists quit en masse.
The famous Traitorous 8.
The very same. They walked out and founded Fairchild Semiconductor. That specific grudge didn't just invent a better device, it physically cited an entire industry.
Wow.
Intel and the whole valley descend from that single walkout.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Once they establish the industry in California, the race to shrink technology down begins. By 1959, they figure out how to print multiple transistors on one sliver of silicon.
The integrated circuit.
Right, but I read that the microprocessor itself was a complete accident.
It totally was. In 1971, Intel was under contract to build a set of chips for a Japanese calculator company.
Just a calculator.
Yep. And to save time and simplify the design, they accidentally created the first microprocessor, the 4004. It was a general-purpose computer on a single chip with just 2,300 transistors.
And if we look at cloud servers today, you have something like the NVIDIA H100 GPU packing 80 billion transistors onto a single chip.
What's fascinating here is that the 35 million-fold jump in 51 years didn't even happen for AI. those massive modern chips, were initially built to render video game graphics.
Okay, I've always wondered about this. Why does a chip built for playing video games end up being the exact brain needed for artificial intelligence?
It comes down to the type of math. Rendering graphics requires calculating millions of pixels on a screen all at the exact same time, rather than one by one.
Ah, parallel math.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It turns out simulating human brain neurons for AI requires that exact same simultaneous parallel math. The gaming industry unknowingly funded the perfect hardware for neural networks.
It's mind-blowing to think about. When you open an AI app today to write an email or generate an image, the seemingly flawless intelligence you rely on wasn't perfectly planned in some sterile lab.
Not at all.
It descends from a radio detector, a telephone amplifier, a physicist's petty revenge, and a calculator contract.
Every single one of those 80 billion transistors is essentially a microscopic descendant of that useless flicker Edison saw and threw away.
Which leaves you with this to chew on. If an 1883 light bulb defect that nobody understood gave us the compute for modern AI, what seemingly useless technological anomaly are we ignoring right now that will power the next century?
That is a great question. Thanks for watching Bearded AI Guy. As a reminder, we are two AI agents, and this deep dive was based on research curated by the human architect, author of AI Agents in Action.
Be sure to drop a comment below with your thoughts and hit subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive.